Good evening and welcome to Rupees and Cents, brought to you with the compliments of People's Leasing and Finance PLC. Education in Sri Lanka has a long history, and the Constitution of Sri Lanka provides for education as a fundamental right. Sri Lanka's population has a literacy rate of about 98.1% and has the highest literacy rate in South Asia. In addition to the government schools, there are private and international schools in Sri Lanka. International schools charge fees and they have separate curriculum, and education usually is in English medium. In tonight's Rupees and Cents, we'll be talking about the international schools in Sri Lanka and the possibility of promoting them in countries abroad. With me in the studio, on my immediate right, Dr. Harsha, Chairman, Gateway Group and the Chairman of the International Schools of Sri Lanka. Next to Harsha is Mrs. Kumari Hapugalle, General Secretary of the International School of Sri Lanka and Chairperson, Alethea International School. We are pleased to have you on Rupees and Cents. Welcome.
Thank you.
Harsha, can we go back very briefly to the origin of international schools in Sri Lanka?
Origin of international schools, not only in Sri Lanka, I think world over, was mainly to cater to the needs of the expat population in the particular country. It was the same in Sri Lanka. I believe our first international school was the Overseas Children's School, which is located in Battaramulla, Palavatta.
Yes.
And it was started for that purpose, but things have moved on since then, and now, as you know, there are many international schools not only in Sri Lanka, not only in our neighborhood, I think world over. Now the need is different, and if you take a typical international school, you have more local children than expat children attending any international school.
Well, was there any particular reason or reasons for setting up international schools in Sri Lanka? What was missing? What was lacking?
Okay, the reason it was in around 1971, the then government eased off the English medium education, and we had only the Sinhala and Tamil medium. So the children who were doing the English medium was finished around 1982-83, and then there was a vacuum for English medium education. Mm-hmm. So since only overseas school had and they were not taking Sri Lankans, they started registering English medium education under the international schools banner. So international schools originally started to cater for English medium education and having the London exams.
Mm-hmm. Okay, now do the international schools in Sri Lanka operate independently, or do you by any chance come within the purview of the Ministry of Education?
Well, at the moment we are independent. Most of our organizations are registered either at the BOI or the Register of Companies. Ministry of Education, we work with them. We have a very cordial relationship, but in essence we are independent.
Mm-hmm. Now, what are the most significant difference in the education system between an international school and other schools?
Well, you started off by saying about the literacy rate, which is important, and talking about the literacy rate, and especially when we have the highest in the region, we all could be proud of. But I believe that is an achievement of the past, and we cannot be complacent about the literacy rate, because what is now more important would be thinking skills, maybe problem solving skills, soft skills. So what is expected in this modern society from a child who leaves school is not just the ability of reading and writing. Digital literacy is important, and people expect a rounded person. And so in addition to delivering English medium education, English is very important to meet the needs of the global requirement. But I believe most international schools work towards developing that rounded personality.
Right.
And in that sense, I feel at least we try to be a little different and work towards that objective of producing giving an all-round education.
Now, apart from the expatriate children, there are the children of the Sri Lankans who are keen to send their children to international schools for education. Why? Is there any particular reason that you can think of?
I think first they move on because if they don't get the national schools or the good private schools, they prefer the international schools, because what they're looking at is not only an education curriculum to be completed, they're looking at a holistic approach of where the child is employable at the end of his 13 years of school years and then moving on to university life. And in Sri Lanka, as you said, the literacy rate is high. Ours is a fundamental right for education. We have it in our constitution. So we should give them every opportunity to cope with the world global need. And without English medium education, it's going to be that we'll never be able to cope with anything, whether it's the commerce field or in the science field. We need to have English medium as a education.
Right. So do you have classes from grade 1?
Most international schools, in fact, start from playgroup, and we go right up to advanced level. And we follow, as Kumari mentioned, many of us follow the English system of education, in a sense, a British curriculum. And where exams are concerned, most schools do either Edexcel or Cambridge exams, but I think the overseas school does the IB.
IB. Now that's something that I would like you to explain to our viewers.
Well, International Baccalaureate is very popular mainly in Europe. It's spread to some of the international schools in our region as well. And Australia. Well, it's something like advanced level, but it tries to incorporate many other aspects as well, going into more subject areas, assessing the work that is done with community service and various other things. But in essence, if you really provide a kind of an overall education, whether it is A-level or IB, I believe the end result is the same.
So generally you prepare students for exams conducted by countries abroad?
Yes, we do the Cambridge exams and the Edexcel exams. But we are very fortunate in the recent past, they have opened up the English medium education in Sri Lanka in the national curriculum, in some subjects up to O levels and then at the A levels. But if more opportunities are given in the national curriculum, we'll see a different outlook of the youth today, because they'll be more globalized than being, stuck in the well like and not being, looking at the bigger picture of the world.
Right. Now, is there any particular criteria to be met when setting up an international school? I mean, are there any, to be a fully fledged international school, what is required, and have those conditions been met?
Unfortunately, in Sri Lanka, we still do not have, any standard criteria. And it is for that reason that, especially the more established schools have come together, formed this association called TESOL, or the International Schools of Sri Lanka. And at TESOL, we have minimum criteria. We look at the facilities that are offered. We look at the qualifications of the teachers. Then we look at the examination results. So together we maintain fairly high standards. And in fact, it shows, because if you attend an Edexcel or a Cambridge award ceremony, which is conducted annually, you'll be surprised to see the number of students, Sri Lankan students, who come up with very high achievements, including world prizes. In almost all subjects, our students get world prizes. So together we've achieved, I think, very high standards in Sri Lanka.
So many achievements. But the only thing is that you are sort of restricted when it comes to certain sports, like you don't have your own grounds, and you may have to sort of rely on somebody else's ground to go and play.
See, that's the unfortunate thing. I mean, as I mentioned, all our schools, a good majority are Sri Lankan students. And in our association, if you put the 25 schools together, we cater to over 40,000 students. It's quite a big number. These students obviously have to pay fees to attend to our schools. Though they are Sri Lankan students, they do not have the exposure that the other kids would have attending a state or a private school, because for us everything is an expense, and among us there's only one school that has a ground, and few of us have swimming pools, but we have to take our students more or less for all the sports. We have to take them to venues outside, so it's a huge effort. So that's where probably I think the state also should consider that these are also Sri Lankan students and help us in providing the necessary facilities, because with the limited facilities we have, I think our students have done extremely well, even in sport. If you take sports like athletics, swimming, basketball, our children are now performing at national level.
Yes, that's good to hear. Well, I have a few more international interesting issues to be taken up. We'll take a short break. We'll be right back soon after this break, so please stay tuned. Welcome back. You're watching Rupees and Cents, brought to you with the compliments of People's Leasing and Finance PLC. And my guests this evening are Dr. Harsha, Chairman, Gateway Group, and the Chairman, the International Schools of Sri Lanka, and Mrs. Kumari Hapugalle Pereira, General Secretary of the International School of Sri Lanka, and also the Chairperson of Alethea International School. As we were discussing before we went for a break, now there are international schools in developed as well as developing countries. Now, do the syllabuses or the system of education vary from one country to another in international schools?
Go ahead.
Okay. Basically, it depends on what curriculum the different schools would follow in various countries. If it is a British curriculum school, whether you study in Sri Lanka or any other country, it would remain the same. And for children to move from one country to another, they would find it extremely easy. Similarly, IB curricula. Okay? So as long as the curricula is the same, transferring from one to another is a very easy process.
As a student of an international school, how do you get an opportunity to enter an university here and abroad?
Well, entering universities abroad, if they got the necessary qualifications, they have to only apply, and they'll be chosen or they'll be called up for an interview. But the sad thing is, if these opportunities are given to Sri Lanka, in Sri Lankan universities where the international school students could pay money if necessary and enter the universities, we are definitely going to save a lot of foreign exchange going out. A lot of children, intelligent brain drain being stopped, and we'll have a lot of input to our country with the wealth of knowledge that's going to be retained back with the youth.
Now, our international schools are of some highly reputed schools. Now, have you ever thought of attracting students from other countries to come and study in Sri Lanka?
Okay, for a while we've been talking of a knowledge hub. And if you see, especially during the last 2 to 3 years, there was much effort to bring in foreign universities, asking them to come and set up in Sri Lanka. With the intention of promoting higher education not only in Sri Lanka but even to attract students from overseas. We strongly believe that this should start at junior and secondary level, because if the state works together with us, we are very confident that we could attract a lot more foreign students to this country. Even now, I mean, from places like neighboring countries like Maldives, we have lots of students coming. But I think we have the potential of becoming a true education hub. And I even feel we have more potential at school level rather than tertiary level. But that we cannot do alone. We must have the blessings and the support of the state.
Right. Now, the medium of the education is English. What about the other languages? Say, for an example, do you teach
We teach Sinhala, we teach Sri Lankan history and religion, and also foreign languages. Each school to school changes from French to German to Chinese is being introduced. Now even Chinese is introduced in the local curriculum also.
Is it up to the child to decide whether he wants to do a foreign language, or is it compulsory?
It's more or less compulsory that every child learns a second language. Okay, and so obviously Sri Lankan children, quite a number of them would like to learn Sinhala or Tamil, but there are others who like to learn a foreign language. But I think in almost all international schools, kids learn at least 2 languages.
And they can offer it for their London O levels, the Sinhala language or the Tamil language. They can offer it for their London O levels.
Right. Now, are we sort of making any attempt to promote international schools or market our international schools abroad?
Starting with, I think we should do it because already Maldives, Sri Lanka is a popular destination for education, whether it's at the junior secondary level or at the tertiary level, they come out. They were for a while trying to move on to Malaysia, but I think if we can capture them back to Sri Lanka, it'll be good. Another market could be the Middle East. We find that a lot of people are going out of those countries also because it's so expensive to study in those countries. So if we can attract and have the blessings of the government, I'm sure we could invite a lot of foreign exchange into our...
Well, the thing is, as such parents must be a little concerned about the child going to another country on his own. And what about accommodation for them, and who's going to sort of keep an eye on them? Is there any kind of system that you have devised?
In fact, if you analyze, she mentioned about Maldives, we get a lot of students from Korea. And what really happens is not only the student, the entire family, especially the mothers, move to Sri Lanka with the children. But I think if we really work hard and if we really develop that sector and work towards even having boarding schools, I think these are things that happened probably 30, 40 years ago. So I'm sure we'll be able to attract a lot more if we really work on that sector. Good example is a country like Malaysia, where they have identified education as a key area to attract people from overseas. So the government in Malaysia has given lots of land for foreign international schools to come and set themselves up, not only international schools but even universities. So over a period of time, Malaysia has become a real education hub in this area. And if you take even the schools, lots of British international schools have come up and set up campuses. So, but that has come with a lot of state support. So this is why we are all
and
working.
Incentives, no? State incentives also.
Exactly, yeah. So we in the private sector, a few schools cannot get together and do it.
No.
But there's certainly a lot of scope for us to attract more foreign students to this country.
Just to add on to what Harsha said was, I find that even China is opening up a lot of, inviting a lot of universities from England, Australia and all to open, and that has become now a destination even for our Sri Lankan students to go. So if we also can open it up, I'm sure with our literacy rate being so high and our teachers being good and our lecturers are good, I don't see why we should not promote it.
That's right. Approximately how many international schools are there in Sri Lanka roughly? Because you find some schools out of Colombo also.
Yeah. We ourselves really don't know. My guess is there must be at least about 200 schools. 200 But varying capacities. In our association we have 25, but I really can't put a number.
To become a member of the association, you have to meet any requirement?
You have to have some minimum criteria. Very unfortunately, there are some good schools that are unable to get into the association now because as the association we have to run various events, especially sports, and there's a limit that we can manage. Now we recently had the International Schools Athletic Championship. It ran for 3 days, and with all the heats and all, 3,000 athletes, so we simply can't accommodate anymore. So for that reason, and not for any other reason, we currently have a freeze on the new memberships. But if we are to maintain quality and keep these standards, we feel we have to stay like this for some time. But having said that, there are a few non-member schools that are also doing very well.
Who is monitoring the performances of these schools?
We have a mechanism where our organization is concerned. We have an executive committee, but there are various subcommittees that look into various aspects. We do things for quality enhancement of heads of schools as well as teachers.
Conference.
We now run an annual conference. So likewise, within our capacity, we do whatever that we can do, and our main concern is quality enhancement.
Right.
And the conference we have is we invite lecturers and from other universities abroad, and it's for all the heads of schools of national, international and private and government schools. So we invite all of them for this conference, which we have a 2-day program.
Right.
And it's sponsored by us.
Right. Well, Harsha, Kumari, it has been a very interesting discussion, and I'm sure our viewers did learn a lot that they didn't know about the international school. So I wish you all the very best, and let's hope that Sri Lanka also will be a very popular destination for students from other countries to come and study here.
Thank you, Dan.
Thank you once again. With that, we conclude Rupees and Cents tonight. We'll be back again 2 weeks from today at 9:30 p.m. right here on ITN. Do join us then. Good night.